It is 4 p.m. and we want to welcome you to the NCEES Principal and Assistant Principal Middle of Year Process webinar for 2021-2022. This is to go over the middle of year check-in processes in the North Carolina Educator Evaluator system. And the slides links will be found in your chat. I am Cammie Nairn. I'm the NCEES Education Product Consultant for NCDPI for the home-based team, and I handle all of the system-based questions and through the actual system processes for NCEES. Dr. Socks could not join us today. We are actually at the AIM conference in Raleigh today, having a good time. But so he's attending a session on licensure, which is very important. So I will be handling all the slides today. And if you have any policy questions, we will make sure to get those to Dr. Socks and get the answers with the follow-up frequently asked questions that I send out. And I do have Audrey Long joining me today to help with your questions that come in. So Audrey, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Audrey Long, and I'm also with DTL, and I'm the product manager for learning.com. Glad to be here this afternoon.
Thank you, Audrey.
Uh-huh.
Okay, on our agenda for today, and I don't know where my Webex slide went. I might have moved it. On our agenda today, we will be accessing the system. Most of you already know how to get into NCEES, so that'll be really quick. What the principal homepage look like and the help guides tab for you to find help guides for the processes that you need to follow in NCEES. We're going to look at checking your plan, access assignments. Do you have all your peers assigned, your mentors assigned, things like that. And then we're going to review the principal evaluation process. So this is going to be the principal plan first. How to get back into your principal plan since you last opened it for the beginning of the year. We're going to review the principal and evaluator responsibilities in the middle of year processes, looking at the mid-year conference, and then we'll take questions about the principal plan. If you have a question while we're going through these steps, please do put that in the chat. And you can also unmute. We have a small group today, so I'm fine if you unmute and want to ask your question. Once we go over that, we will take a look at what the principals do for the teachers for the mid-year. So we'll look at the teacher evaluation process, and that's going to include your support staff. We kind of basically focus on the teacher evaluation process, but it does apply to your staff processes as well. And then we'll look at the professional development plan, your PDP review cycle. And we're going to review components of the professional development, how you can assign PD to teachers to help them meet their goal. And then we'll look at some reports that site administrators and district administrators can run regarding these processes. And we have a few resource slides at the end. So I think I've lost my Webex slide. We are in Webex today, so I'm going to escape just a minute and see where my slide is. It looks like I might have accidentally deleted it. But if you're familiar with Webex, know that you can open the chat to ask your questions. We ask that you use the chat. Now, there is a Q&A, which I guess we can open, but if you want to send a private question, you can do it through the Q&A. Most of the questions do pertain to questions everybody else is wondering about, so please put those in the chat, and we will pause and go to the live side if we need to, and walk through these steps to help get answers to your questions. All right, so Audrey's going to be placing the links to the slides in the chat as people join, and she will pause me and read me your questions as you put those in the chat. So we'll get started. Accessing NCEES. Everybody to get into NCEES must go in through our single sign-on system. It's got several names: NCED Cloud, IAM, Rapid Identity, and you log in if you're coming in from the district with your NCED Cloud UID number, and that will be your username. And you'll click go, and you'll put in your UID password that you set up and click go. And when the dashboard loads, you're going to find the NCEES icon. I have noticed since people are getting back in for the middle of year process, a couple of months ago, we updated this NCEES icon. The districts used to see the icon with the word NCEES at the bottom, a hyphen, and your LEA number. If your staff still see this, it is old. It's an old icon, and they will not be able to get into NCEES. They need to clear their cache and cookies from their browser, close the browser, restart the browser, log back into IM, and then they should get the new icon where it just says NCEES without any LEA number, and they should be able to get in just fine. If they still cannot log into NCEES, please open a ServiceNow ticket with DPI. This is the principal landing page. So when principals log in, they will come to this page, and it looks very similar to what maybe your evaluators of principals might also see when they log in. So this is the home page. Of course, you've got your welcome. Up at the top right are several icons. If you guys are using the messaging system, or if I've sent out a message, you're going to see that under the envelope icon at the top. There is a calendar icon next. I do try to post our webinars out there, so they will be listed there. Some of our districts use the calendar icon to mark the steps when things are due or events that you're holding. So if you want to use the calendar in NCEES, the district administrator or site administrator can certainly do so. The next icon over is your question mark icon. This is PowerSchool's Help Center. So they do have some very good help out here on how to do things in NCEES. However, if you want to do North Carolina version, you need to look under the Help Guides tab, and we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. The last icon at the top is a circle with your initials in it. So you used to see your name, but now they've updated that to only show your initials. And when you click on that, you can go to the Manage Profile screen, or you can log out from there. Excuse me just a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is your help guides page. We do have a lot of help guides out here. Please let your staff know that we have help guides out here. We recently did a survey for home base, and a lot of the responses were, I need some help guides for NCEES. And we do have help guides under this help guides tab. So, and they are step by step. All of the plan help guides are view and do. So the teachers and the support staff have their own guide on which steps they need to view and which steps they need to do. And then, of course, the evaluators will have their guide, and their steps will be flip-flopped. They have their steps to do, and then what can they view that the teacher's done. And then just go down. The plan guides are grouped by plan type. And then if you're an administrator, a district administrator, or a site administrator, your help guides, depending on how your page loads up and how far you're zoomed in, if it's zoomed about this level, it shows up on the right. So there are guides on how to set access rights, how to reopen. Maybe somebody needs to update a goal that they didn't quite set up correctly. There's a guide on how to reopen that. You must be somebody with reopen rights, and that's most of our district administrators, except for those DAs that are superintendents, unless they've been manually assigned the reopen rights. So check out the Help Guides tab. And then since we are in the middle of year, and you need to make sure you have those access rights to the active plans set. Site administrators can do this, district administrators can do this if you have the rights. We recently updated the DA role to help facilitate a way to give central office staff DA role, and they be view only. So some of you have lost your rights, and you just need to request them back. This is in our newsletter. District administrators have links to our newsletter on the homepage of NCEES. So check that out. If you used to be able to assign access rights and now you cannot, it's probably because your DA rights have changed due to this new central office view only role. So go check out our newsletters, open a ticket, contact me if you have any questions about that. So when we're assigning access rights to teachers and staff plans, I put a link on this slide to your teacher staff plan guide. This is done in My Staff Administration Staff Management. You can assign evaluators. Now your head principals automatically come into the system as an evaluator, and that's the people with the budget code 114. You can give your AP a site administrator role, but it does not give them any evaluator or observer rights. Just remember that. They still need to be manually assigned. The only person that doesn't need an manual assignment of evaluator is your head principal that has a budget code of 114. So let's look at each of these. The evaluator is somebody that can complete all the observations and the end of year summary evaluation. If you have APs that don't need to do that summary evaluation, you do not need to make them evaluators. They could be observers. Observers have rights to do any observations 1, 2, 3, additional observations 1, 2, and 3. They can actually get into a peer observation, but they cannot sign off on a peer observation. So make sure when you're assigning the next one, peer observer, that you do choose the one that says peer observer as opposed to observer, because only the peer observer can sign off on that peer observation area. The peer observer is required on anybody that is on a comprehensive plan, whether they are a beginning teacher or not. If you've assigned somebody a comprehensive plan, make sure that you've got a peer observer observation done for them, or they can't close out their plan. Mentors are for your beginning teachers, and they actually work on the teacher's professional development plan. Make sure they are assigned, and make sure that their area where they need to assign to, make sure that they know when to do that, because the system will not require the mentor's signature, even though it is required to be done. And that's because not everybody needs a mentor. So we did not make that activity in the actual plan a required step, or you couldn't get by it if you didn't need a mentor. So make sure that if you have teachers on a comprehensive plan that are beginning teachers, that their mentor is signing off on the activity in the PDP plan. Then you can also assign view only, and that's for people that only need to view certain plans, and the reopen rights. And whoever gets reopened also gets the ability to archive and delete plans. We're going to look next. Do we have any questions, Audrey?
No, we don't have any right now, Cammy.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Assigning access rights to principal plans. This must be done by somebody with district administrator rights who also has the ability to assign access rights. So, and they have a guide to do this. This is not done under my staff anymore. For the last 2 years, you have to go to staff evaluations. And if you have the access rights, you can go to open up a principal plan, go to the access rights tab, and assign that evaluator. So for the public schools, that's going to be your superintendents usually are evaluating the principals. You do that in the principal plan on the access rights tab, and it must be a district administrator. So make sure you have a NCEES district administrator assigned, or contact me or the support desk if you need one. And again, the evaluator is somebody that's going to do all the steps, including the summary evaluation. There's a contributor role. This is just somebody that can only get into add notes and artifact activities. And again, then you also have the view only role and the reopen administrator role. All right, so now that we've talked about making sure you have those rights signed out, if you need to see any of that in the live side, just put it in the chat. I'm happy to jump over there and show you that on the admin staff management or the staff evaluations page.
Excuse me, Cammy, we have a question.
Yes.
They want to know, is there a statewide date for someone considered to be a late hire?
That is a policy question, and if you email me, we'll send back out what Dr. Sox said. I believe they have to be employed as after your 200th day of school or something like that, but I'll have to find the exact wording that Dr. Sox sent out, and we can get that answered in the frequently asked questions. And also, if you're a member of the Google group, our niece's Google group, they're quick to answer out there as well. But we'll get that answer to you. Okay, so we have two guides for the principal evaluation, one for the evaluator and one for the evaluatee. And I've linked them on this slide. They're also on your help guides tab in NCEES. All right, so this is going to be our policy portion of this. And so if you have any questions on this, do ask it and we'll get those to Dr. Socks. So we are in the middle of year of the principal evaluation process. And on the screen, you see this one pager. Anything that's in red is a required document that must be done. Anything that's in green are your optional forms. And then anything that's in black is a required process that must be done. So you've already done the beginning part of the year and you've started your data collection for those artifacts and notes. And so you should continue that data collection here at mid-year. And we're also going to take a look at step 5, which is your mid-year conference. So the mid-year conference is going to cover meeting to discuss the progress of the goals attainments. So whatever the principal has set as goals, going to discuss the progress of meeting that goal. And then you should also be discussing your school-wide student growth data and reviewing that. In the green, there are some optional forms to help with this. There's the progress toward achieving goals form, and this is an optional form to be used by the evaluator to document the progress of the goals. So your main question you're asking during this point of the year is what adjustments need to be made. Where is growth being shown, and then where can growth be improved? So what adjustments need to be made at this point of the year? Here is a link to the meeting form. Let me copy that and I'll put it in the chat. This is the goal form that's optional. This is another tool that Dr. Kim Simmons, and I don't remember if everybody heard that she's retired, and we are in the process of interviews, and we'll be hiring somebody hopefully before the end of the year, but by early January, hopefully. This is the document of questions that the principal should read and the evaluator should read. This will greatly help with preparing for those conference sessions that you hold. If everybody is prepared and can answer these questions and can supply artifacts and notes for each of the areas, for strategic leadership, for cultural leadership, for instructional leadership, and for the human resource leadership, this is a good document to have. Trying to think. I'm hoping this is the right link because I thought I updated this, but if it's not, I will get that to you. I thought I took out that word questions. So. Right. I'll make sure I'm in the right form. I am. All right, and that is found on our niece's Google site. So we'll make sure if that link is not correct, I'll get you the correct one. All right, so we're going to go now. If we don't have any other policy questions, we're going to look at going into the NCEES side of things and reopening your principal evaluation. So here are the responsibilities that an evaluator needs to prepare to supervise the principal or the AP for this evaluation process. You're going to be looking at identifying strengths and areas for improvement. You're going to make recommendations for improving performance, and you're going to ensure that accurate information has been documented. The principal or the AP needs to prepare for that meeting, the mid-year meeting, make sure the self-evaluation has been completed and reviewed, identify additional performance goals or updating goals or the progress of the goals, identify any change initiatives, still be gathering that data, the artifacts and evidence to support that you're meeting goals, and to develop and implement strategies to improve personal performance and attaining your goals. And then, of course, we're getting into the mid-year to prepare then for the final evaluation conferences at the end of the year. To reopen the evaluation, if you're the principal, that's what this main screenshot is. You're going to be going to My Evaluation, looking under the Current Evaluations tab. Your plan should already be in progress, so you would click on the title of the plan to open it. If you're the evaluator, you're going to go to the Staff Evaluations tab, search for your principal, click on their name to open up the plan. All right. So here is a plan, and I've opened it up. I've clicked into the plan, and you'll see that you should have green checks on the orientation, the pre-evaluation planning, the initial meeting. The data collection container should have been started. In there is the rubric and the notes and artifacts areas. And then, of course, the mid-year conference, which is what we're going to review today. So here's a look at that data collection container. The principal will see artifacts and notes and the rubric areas. The evaluator will see artifacts and notes, evaluator's notes, and the rubric. Artifacts and notes, both the evaluator and the evaluatee can view those. The evaluator's notes, only the evaluator can view. And then, of course, your rubric is where you've gone through and marked the tally marks for the standards and elements areas that have been met. So artifacts and notes, to open a note, you're going to click into that, click on New Note, enter a description for the note. You can then tag it to an element if that applies. If you need to attach a document, you must save the note, and then the attached file shows up. So then you can attach any files on a note. The evaluator completes the evaluation rubric for the principal, and then we'll share it with the principal. And there's just a screenshot of how it looks when it's complete, when it's done by the evaluator. The next container down is your mid-year conference, and you need to watch for all required fields. In NCEES, required fields are marked by an asterisk symbol. So in the mid-year conference, when you expand that, you see three areas: the performance goal mid-year updates, the mid-year review evaluator signature, and the mid-year review, the principal/AP signature. All of those are required to be done. The performance goals, when you click into it, the gray circle turns to a blue in progress icon, and you can open it up and see the blue circle that is in progress. You click edit. There is one area that is required. You need to put in the mid-year evaluation date. And then when you're setting the goals, when you go down past this little area, you're going to have the performance goals for the beginning of the year. Make sure one of your goals is a human resource leadership goal. It is asterisk as well, so make sure you set at least one goal that applies to human resource leadership. And here's just an in-depth view when you're setting that goal. You can check the box beside number 4 to make sure you have that human resource leadership goal. The mid-year evaluator signature is the next activity down. So the evaluator will review the beginning of your goals with the principal. The evaluator can view and or create mid-year goals for the principal. You're going to review the initial meeting and mid-year comments, and they now show up in the mid-year, so you don't have to go back and forth trying to find those comments. And then once everything is done, you're done editing, then you should be able to acknowledge the activity as the evaluator. Once that's been done, then the principal or the assistant principal can then look in their mid-year principal AP signature or acknowledgement activity. So they're going to also review the beginning of year goals and review their mid-year goals and set new ones or update goals for the mid-year. And then you're going to review any mid-year comments from the evaluator. And once you're done with that, the principal or AP can then acknowledge their signature. All right. Do we have any questions for the principal process or anything you would like to see on the live site? Any questions, Audrey?
No, I don't see any right now.
Okay, we're making good time. We're about halfway through. So now the principals, you're going to be getting into the teacher evaluation process for the mid-year. And there is a guide out there in the manual. This is where we're going to cover the process steps in your teacher manual. It is linked in the slides. And we're looking at step 3. We're in observation cycle. Step 3, components 5 and 6. So step 3, component 5, the formal observation is 45 minutes length or an entire session or lesson. If you're doing an informal observation, that must be at least 20 minutes. For teachers with less than 3 years of employment, they'll be on the comprehensive evaluation cycle. That is going to include the 3 formal observations and 1 formal observation from the peer. If the teacher has more than 3 years of employment, they will be on the standard plan or they could be on the abbreviated evaluation cycle. That's the decision of your district. However, if you are renewing a license this year, the teacher is renewing their license this year, they should be on that standard evaluation cycle. The standard cycle includes 3 observations. 1 must be formal, and the abbreviated evaluation includes 2 observations on just standards 1 and 4. Abbreviated observations may be formal or informal. For component 6 in step 3, you're going to conduct those post-observation conferences with the teachers and support staff. And so that must be conducted no later than 10 school days after each formal observation. If it's been longer than 10 days, we do recommend that you redo the observation so that when you do have that post-observation conference, it makes sense and it connects and it's not too far out from when you did the observation. You're going to be discussing and document any strengths and weaknesses on that teacher rubric. Post-observation conversations should be linked back to the descriptors, not the rating category. So your fillable forms do not list these descriptors for growth, these growth descriptors, but this is what your conversations should be surrounding on. You are not rating your teachers during an observation, so you're not marking them developing, proficient, accomplished, or distinguished. What you're doing is trying to grow their knowledge or find out where they're at with knowledge. What do they know? The next one is action. What do they show? The interaction, how is it shown in their classroom? And then the extension, how is it shown outside the classroom? There should not be only one observation to fully inform the teacher rating at the end of the year. So you're going to need to conduct all the required observations. This is just a guide for you to go by to show you what is required on the different teacher evaluation types. So the comprehensive cycle, you can look at all the X's to see what's required. The teacher must do a self-assessment. There's the PDP plan that must be done, the pre-observation conference, the formal observation with the post-observation conference, and so on across the page. So this is just a handy guide for you to know what's required for each of the cycles. When you're in NCEES and you're going through the activities, just remember what the icons should look like as you are completing activities. The gray floret it is not started. This activity is not started. If you see it 3/4 blue, the activity is in progress. If you see it orange, it's A, almost complete. They just maybe need to finalize something, or somebody has reopened that activity. So orange can mean two things. It's almost complete, but it's still incomplete, or somebody has reopened the activity and it must be fixed or updated, and then somebody needs to close that reopened activity. And then once you see the green check mark in the green circle, the activity is marked complete. So as we're going through, I've marked on this screen where we're at in the process. So this screen shows what must be completed before that summary evaluation container at the end of the year opens up. And so the comprehensive plan, you've done observation 1 for all of the plan types, hopefully. Late hires, you may just be starting to assign those out maybe in January once your 200 days are in, or less if they have less than 200 days to be employed, I think is the wording, but I'll get that for you. The late hires will eventually be started. They only do require 1 observation, but you can do more. So we're at the middle of year process, and we're going to go into observation 2 for comprehensive, standard, and abbreviated, and your decision on the late hire. And then to get to the end of the year, comprehensive, standard are going to need the 3rd observation, and the comprehensive is going to need a peer. Here's just another way to look at the steps in the observation cycle. So the principal or AP starts the observation conference. For the pre-observation conference, that is optional at this point in the year. If it is done, then step 2 is the teacher acknowledges the pre-observation. You could start at mid-year with the actual formal or informal observation, depending on your plan type. That is done by the evaluator. And then the evaluator conducts that post-observation conference and acknowledges. It goes to the teacher, who then acknowledges that post-observation. The teacher has at any point an ability to enter a written response. And if a written response is submitted, the evaluator does get an email, and they must complete the written response acknowledgement in the NCEES system. Once everything and everybody's good with what is entered as data, and you're ready to lock the observation activity then. So that will be an evaluator activity. So here we're looking at a container for observation 2, and we're actually looking at an abbreviated plan. So here's the training and orientation, should already have a green check. Observation 1 should have a green check. If this green check is not on either one of these, if you click into observation 2 as an evaluator, you will not be able to go any further until these green checks are in place. So here's what areas are required on completing observation 2. Notice the late hire plan has no asterisks for any of the activities. The comprehensive plan, you must complete the formal observation, the post-observation conference with the evaluator acknowledgement, and the post-observation conference with the teacher acknowledgement, and then make sure everything is locked at the end. The standard is the same, and the abbreviated plan, it can be formal or informal, but you're going to need the observation, the 2 signatures, and then finally lock those activities. Here's some observation tips. When you're on the staff evaluations page and you have opened maybe somebody's comprehensive evaluation, if you look at the top of that evaluation, you're going to see this icon. It's actually a group icon. It's like a little head and shoulders with just a bunch of little people around behind them. If you click on that group icon, you can actually get to the next person that's on a comprehensive plan, or if you have a lot of people you're following on the comprehensive evaluation, you can put somebody's name in here and search for them. But that's just a quick way to not have to go in and out of the activities. If you're working on the same thing with a bunch of comprehensive teachers, this is a shortcut to get to the next teacher on the comprehensive plan that you want to work with. The next tip is don't finalize the observation rubric until after the post-observation conference and the written responses. That way, if there's things that need to be updated, you don't have to ask your person with the reopen rights to reopen the activity to get back in there to update comments or notes or tally marks. So think about leaving that open until after you've held that conference. And then, yes, you must share the observation, or you cannot finalize the rubric until it is shared. So if you don't see finalize in the rubric menu, it's because you're either missing a tally mark on one of the element lines. It has to have at least one tally mark on each element that's in that plan type. Or it's missing, you've not shared it with the person that you are doing the observation on. Here's some more observation tips. If your observation rubric does not match the plan type. So here's an observation for a classroom teacher, but they are saying school counselor rubric in when they open up their observation. So what I advise doing is making sure that whoever set the plan type on the My Staff page verify that the correct plan type is now set. If you're just changing it today, make sure it processes overnight before you do these next steps that I'm about to tell you. So once the plan type is correct on the My Staff page and has processed overnight, then somebody can come in here and start this rubric. Don't do anything in the rubric, but go under the menu and you can delete the rubric. The page will spin and it will repopulate with the correct rubric as long as it's correct on the My Staff page. If you have any issues with that, please open a ticket with DPI. The other thing is sometimes there's a glitch in the system and sometimes you see like observation A, observation B, observation C that were done at the same time and dates. So when that happens, the same person can also use that delete, go under A and delete it, or B and delete it. I would probably do B or C if those are showing up, and delete those and keep A. It's just a little glitch that happens when in the background the internet has maybe had a little glitch in it. It sometimes doubles up like that. Anybody that's assigned as an evaluator can actually come into another evaluator's area here and complete any menu items. All right. Any questions about that process? We've had a few of those tickets coming in recently.
No questions, Cammie.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I did want to review what happens with the written response. It has been updated this year, the written response, because a lot of people were clicking in written response, but they've never clicked the yes. Yes, I acknowledge that I've seen this written response. So now to get out of it, if you've clicked into it, you must click yes. You can get out of it if you're just clicking in there to look at it. If you put it in progress, don't worry about it. It won't hold up the plan just because you've clicked in it and looked at it. But if a teacher has actually submitted a written response to their evaluator, that evaluator will get an email similar to this top graphic from no reply. It actually says at pl.powerschool.com now. But you'll get the teacher has provided a written response to your summary evaluation conference and it's ready for your review. So you're going to go back into the NCEES staff evaluations, open up that teacher's plan, go to the written response, read it, look at it, review it, and then supply a written response acknowledgement. So this is part that's new. So now when you come in here, you can view, I have received the written response from the teacher. You must select one. Select yes. So you select yes and then click save and exit. Okay. So that was the written response. Now, I did want to talk to you about staff acknowledgements. Occasionally, you might have a staff or a teacher that refuses to acknowledge their teacher acknowledgement signature. So we have set up a way for you to bypass that so that the plan can move on. Now, do know that they are not signing this document to say that they approve of the observation or the results that resulted from the observation. They are signing it to say that the process has taken place like it should according to the requirements of the teacher evaluation process. That is what their signature is for. But if you do have somebody that is halting the evaluation process, you can complete the teacher acknowledgement override, and I've linked the document in here.
I have a question for you, Cammie.
Sure.
Cecilia wants to know, do you have to have something in the written response areas?
For the written response areas. Is
Mhm.
this in the rubric or you're talking about this override process? Or acknowledging the written response?
Yeah, she just has, do you have to have something in the written response area? She said yes. Yes. Can you, yes to what, Cecilia?
So no, it's not a required step. Is that what you're asking, Cecilia?
Yes, is it a required step to have a response?
It took me a minute. Yes, it is not. Yes, no, it is not a required step. It does not
Okay.
have an asterisk on it. So no, they do not have to supply a written response. Good
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is the teacher acknowledgement override. The only people that can complete an acknowledgement override is your district administrators, your site administrators, and observers. And we are keeping all three of those roles as people that can do that. You in your district need to figure out who can do that. What is going to be the approval process for a teacher that is refusing to sign off on the plan in the NCEES system? So you need to decide if it's only going to be a district administrator or a site administrator or an observer in NCEES. Each of our districts uses each of these roles differently. So we've left all three of those roles in the override process for your district to decide who can do that. And you set up on your own what policy you want to have for that locally. Here's just a quick look of where that activity is in an observation. The document observation acknowledgement override. This is where you sign in lieu of a teacher signing. This does take overnight. So once you complete this document observation acknowledgement override, it will get a green check. But the teacher acknowledgement will not get its green check until the next day. It must process overnight. All right. So we had recently had an issue where somebody clicked into the observation override and then realized they didn't need it. So they deleted it. Well, we found out that deleting it also deleted the information. If you look at the top on the left-hand side, I got a green check on the pre-observation conference, and then now it's in progress after I delete the document observation override. So we asked PowerSchool. It also deletes information out of the evaluator acknowledgement area. It doesn't delete the signature, but it deletes everything else. So we found out that all three of those areas, sorry about that. I can click right. So all three of these areas, the pre-observation, the post-observation, and the override are all using an interconnected form. So for this year, what we've done is before when you clicked into the document observation acknowledgement override, it's a mouthful, you would only see these highlighted in yellow areas. You would see yes or no. You could add comments or attachments. But now we're showing you everything that's going to be deleted if you choose to delete the override. You're going to be deleting things out of the pre-observation and the evaluator. On our list for end of year for next year plans, we are breaking these forms apart. so that if you wanted to delete something in the document override, it would only delete those three top areas, not everything in all those other containers. But for now, we did want you to see, if you're going to delete it, what would be deleted. So, and this is another area that if you put it in progress, it is not going to hold up your form. It's not a required area, so it will not stop anything from completing if you've clicked into it. All right, we got about 15 minutes left. So do we have any questions about the teacher process? We are going to have a webinar on the teacher evaluation process, I want to say next week. So sign up for that for next Tuesday. Let's look at the PDP review cycle. Again, you have the 3 PDP plans: individual growth plan, monitored growth plan, directed growth plan. If at this point in the year you are deciding that somebody is on an individual growth plan, now needs to be on a monitored plan, you just navigate to My Staff and change the plan type. It doesn't do anything to the plan other than it now knows that it's monitored or directed, and it will show up on reports as monitored or directed. I do advise that maybe you go into the teacher background area or somewhere and add a note that the plan has been updated and why. So make sure you note that in the plan somewhere. But you don't need to worry about archiving the old PDP. It stays. This is different than the evaluation plan. You can change the plan type on a PDP. The plan stays and you just continue with it. Any questions about that? All right, so the PDP is a roadmap for teacher growth, and this is for your individual school and district goals. Are they aligned with your school improvement plan? And you are recording the teacher effectiveness data for the staff that you are reviewing on the professional development plan. I've included the links to the guides on this slide as well. The PDP cycle actually starts with your teacher or support staff. They must complete their PDP details, and this is for beginning of year, mid-year, end of year review. The teacher starts the process with completing PDP details. Then the evaluator reviews that and acknowledges and signs off. It goes to the mentor. If this is a teacher on a comprehensive plan, the mentor should also then review the PDP details and do their mentor signature process as well. And then it goes back to the teacher to acknowledge everything. They've met with the evaluator, the mentor, and everything's been discussed and looked at. And so the teacher can then sign. And then the evaluator or the observer can then complete the locking activity. So let's look at the PDP container. Once you open a PDP, we are opening up the PDP mid-year review container. And again, look for those asterisks for what is required. The PDP details mid-year review, the evaluator signature, the mentor, if this staff is on a comprehensive plan and they're a beginning teacher. And notice it does not have an asterisk. So remember that it's not going to hold up. The evaluator can lock this up without making sure that mentor has signed. We do have a note in here. The mentor needs to sign. This is required for beginning teachers. So do check on that so that you don't have to go through the re-open process. And then of course the evaluator is going to do that locking activity. The PDP evaluator signature will do their acknowledgement in the mid-year review for the evaluator. In the PDP, there are reports available in the record of evaluation activities area. There are actually 4 reports available. You can do the initial review, the mid-year review printout, the end-of-year review printout, and then the last one is actually a record of activities, which gives you the signature dates and times that each area was signed off on. Okay, any questions about the PDPs?
No questions.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, let's take a quick look at professional development. When you are working in the teacher's rubric, if you look at the standards and the elements, and if the course creators that have courses in NCEES have tagged their courses to the standards and elements, there will be a light bulb that shows up beside the standards and elements that you can click on. It's very tiny. I've circled it in yellow here to show you how that looks. Teachers and staff, they can look at these as well. You don't have to be an evaluator to see these light bulbs. So they can also be proactive and go look for courses that have been tagged by our professional development folks that have built out courses for you, and tag them to standards. You just click on the little light bulb. On the left, this is what the staff should do when they click in the little light bulb for maybe they're trying to meet a goal for this standard or for this element. They can see the aligned courses for that element or standard. They can check the box and they can click register. They can skip the middle area and just go straight and register for the course. If you're an evaluator that wants to recommend or require a staff to take a course, you're going to click into that same light bulb. You're going to see the same screen, and I've put it on the right here. You're going to check the box that you of a course that you want that staff to either be required to take or recommended to take. So you select, am I recommending this course or am I requiring this course? And then you're going to select, lastly, you must select recommend required channels so that it shows up to the staff. They'll see it under their My Courses section in NCEES. And at the very top of that page, they have a container that says required courses and they have recommended courses. It does put your name if you are an evaluator and you are requiring or recommending a course. It does not make them sign up for it, so you're still going to need to communicate with them, especially if this is a required course. It's not going to make them sign up, so make sure that you know that you've had that discussion maybe during your conference that you're requiring them to take a course and when you expect it to be done. So make sure that communication is open. What happens in NCEES is they can actually hide recommended courses so that they don't have to look at them anymore, but they cannot hide in that container for required courses. They cannot hide those. They're going to stay there until they click in there and sign up for them. Okay, any questions about using that? There is a help guide out there for observation light bulb feature, how to recommend or require PD. All right, and then it's hard to tell what all the courses are in NCEES. So NCBP, yes.
Excuse me. Can you repeat? Someone wants you to repeat again where you can find that in NCEES, what you were just discussing.
The light bulbs. So this is for an evaluator or an observer when you're actually going into the staff's rubric, into their observation, and you see all the standards and elements where you check all the little tally marks. That's where you find that light bulb. And it is very tiny. It's blue. It's a little blue light bulb beside this. You see it listed beside standard 1 or element 1A. Now, they do have to also tag it to the different evaluation types. So your counselors may not have these light bulbs if the course person only tagged it to the teacher evaluation process. So that makes sense. But if they've tagged it and aligned the standards, you will see the light bulbs in those. So just go look, see if it's out there. And we do work with our OPLs, we call them, our online professional leads who are building out these courses to please go ahead and tag these standards to make it easier for your teachers and you as an evaluator to find and assign. Hope that helps.
Yes, that answered the question.
Good. All right, so some of you used to know about rt3nc.org. That is where our educators support. They do a bulk of our courses in NCEES, and they actually, those people are now at NCVPS, so they own those courses now. RT3NC.org had a glitch in it, so they built out a whole new site, and it's awesome. So go to this link for NCbps. I'll put it in the chat. These are the courses that are in NCEES for you to take. You can go out to this site and see the courses. It's probably a little bit easier to go look. It shows you how many credits it is and different things like that, more information on each course that they offer. But then you do have to come back to NCEES to actually go register for the course. And then I also export all the courses that are in NCEES. I try to do that quarterly, so I'll be doing it probably end of December, export what's new in there now, and update this link. So this goes to our Google site, our NCEES Google site, and it goes to our NCEES Learning Opportunities catalog. And let me see if I can copy that link. So, and this does include the NCBPS courses, but it also includes our other division courses that are out there. And you'll come down here, and it is in this little window. You can expand it with this little gray box. And then if you want to edit it, you just have to make yourself a copy of it. But again, we list all the courses, the course numbers, course titles, the credits that are earned, and any tags that are in there, any extra information is in this spreadsheet. Okay. Any questions about finding PD for your staff to take? We do have other webinars for how to actually go and do the PD sessions. This site, NCBPS, also has my information on how to find professional development. Here's a video, and these 3 paragraphs has all my links for how to go find, enroll in or withdraw form, or how to find your certificate once you've completed a course. All of that information is linked in these first paragraphs. All right, then real quick, as we're about to wrap up, we only have about 3 minutes. I did want to quickly show you reports and resources. I am going to have a full-blown report session for district administrators, site administrators you can set into, because we're going to be looking at some of the reports under the reports tab. But this is one area under the reports tab. As an evaluator, if you want to quickly see what steps are completed, which activities are completed or in progress in a plan, go to your reports tab, and in the reports container, select from this drop down quick reports. And then the second report down is evaluation completion exception report. So click it, select the year you want it to run for this year, of course, and then you click next, and go, and you'll get a report that's very nice. See if I put an example. Yes. So here is an example of what it looks like. You can see who has not started their pre-observation conference if it's required. You can see who's completed. If a container has been reopened, it will tell you that. If it's in progress, it will tell you that. Very good report for those of you that have people that will help you follow up on that to let your principals know, or principals, you can run this as well. The other report that's on that same page, before you can go in here, instead of quick reports, there's a GP status report. It's the one that shows up when you first go to this page, so don't change it. Just click run. If you're a district administrator, you're going to see a district drop down, where then you can see a school drop down, and then you can select to run by district or school. If you're a site administrator, you're only going to show the location that you have access to. This is just a good quick view, and it also gives you percentages of who has completed which activity. So here's an abbreviated evaluation for last year. I have 4 staff on an abbreviated evaluation. 2 of them are in progress with their overall plan, and 2 have completed their overall plan. I can expand lots of different areas to see who is, which areas are being worked on. If this pre-observation should be completed, I can see that I have 2 people that have not completed yet, and I expected them to be complete. You can click further in if your an evaluator and actually see names. So just go out there and check out that report. I did want you to see that. That was kind of new last year, but I think it's a good visual. It's not a good printable report probably, but it's a good visual if you want to go look and see where everybody's at. Or if somebody's asking for percentages, this is one of those reports that shows percentages. So that's just a quick look at reports. Again, join us in December for the overall reporting webinar. So let me get this in the feedback form for those of you that want to go ahead and jump out of here by 5 p.m. Let me copy this. This is our webinar feedback. You do get to earn 0.1 CEU for attending today, so we thank you for coming out today. Let me put on here that this is feedback. We appreciate all the feedback you give us, and we take it, and if you want us to improve something, make sure you put it in there. If you're happy with the way things are going and you'd like more, just let us know what else you want to have. And you will get an email. When you do the feedback, you must elect to get the certificate. So you will need at the very end, there are 2 questions that say, do you want to get a certificate? And then you must submit your name and email address, and it will email you the certificate, which you can then print out, and turn into your district for approval. All right. So it is 5 o'clock, so I'm going to say goodbye. But if you want to hang on for one more minute, I'll go through these last resource slides, and then we'll say goodbye. So we do have our NCEES Google site. Lots of information out there. We are updating it. Kim Simmons has retired, so we are updating, and we will have a new person that will be working on this site as well. Check out our NCEES YouTube playlist. Like this webinar will be posted out there. You can find all past webinars for the last year and a half out here on our NCEES playlist channel. Upcoming webinars, Tuesday, December 7th, we're going to have the middle of year teachers and support staff process webinar. And then on December 14th, to wrap up our year, for the calendar year, we're going to have admin reporting in NCEES from 4 to 5 p.m. So we want to wish you to enjoy the winter break and happy holidays. To get more information on either of these webinars, you can click the top link to go to our webinar page on our website.
Cameron, we have a question. They're saying that Dakisha is saying she's at a charter school that is not part of Guilford County.
Okay.
She said,
I think it's listed by number, your LEA number. So if your LEA number is not there, email me. We have to, with this new form that we have to use, we have to add it and then go send it back in for approval. There should be an other selection. If you're not finding your LEA number on that list, select the other. Okay. All right. And then here's our Facebook page for Home Base. Check that out. Every Wednesday we try to put out there Did You Knows for our different products. Here's a slide with all our contact information. And then, of course, if you are designated to enter a support desk ticket, our hours are from 7 to 4. There's a phone number you can call. There's the link to enter those tickets. Please do include who, what, when, and where. We need UIDs. Try not to put names and UIDs together. We can find the name if you give us the UID. And if you give us the UID, we know we have the right person. All right, so that's all. Does anybody have any additional questions? I'm going to stop recording.
Can you put the feedback link in again, Cammie?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Q&A. Lost my chat. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay. Is it in there now?
Yes, it's in there.
Okay.